And we're live. Good to have you all here today. Very, very big show because we got a lot going on. I mean, a lot. Adam Schiff seemingly trying to echo Leticia James. I'm like, what's going on with all these people and their mortgage, alleged mortgage fraud? You know, this stuff carries up to 30 years in the slammer. Maybe they can say hi to each other there. Wow. Okay, we're going to get into all of that. He is definitely at risk at this moment in time, as is Leticia James. Oh, and there's more, because it's not just Leticia. It's not just Adam Schiff. You get Dr. Jill's work hubby, who's also facing possible problems. And boy, is he freaking out. He's getting really nervous as Fauci, I guess. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is firing Comey's daughter. Comey's daughter, who somehow was overseeing the Epstein case and Diddy? Like, is there like a genre or something that Comey's daughter was specializing in with people who were videotaping people, possibly doing some really weird stuff? Anyway, I digress. Donald Trump's polls are soaring. I mean, absolutely, positively soaring. Here's a quick clip.
I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex, or close there too, in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints, or not.
You just proved that not
everything. I love it. You know what? There's something to be said. He really is Teflon Trump. We will talk about that. We're also going to talk about the Obamas. Kind of sounding a little desperate to put all those rumors about their marriage on the rocks to bed. And I'll tell you what, it's not working. I'm going to explain and show you the clips. Welcome to the program, everyone. Great to have you here. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, hit the bell so you know every day when I'm live. We are live 5 days a week right here on the Trish Regan Show, sometimes 6. Yeah, sometimes 6. You know me. I will never stop working because I will never stop fighting for the truth. I mean that. That is my commitment to you. It is my commitment to myself. We started this channel with like hardly anybody watching, although we do have some faithful ones who have been here from the beginning. And I thank you all for it because we're coming up on 1 million subs right now. And this was all built from scratch just a couple of years ago, going live every single day. Because you know what? Truth matters. And we're on the front lines of history, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Schiff, Leticia James may find themselves heading straight to the slammer. Shifty Schiff pulling a Leticia move. Wow. Come on, Adam. Can't you get a little more creative than this? Apparently not. You know, anything to save a buck. These people are absolutely unbelievable. I know they don't pay him that well. Well, they pay him plenty, but maybe not as well as they'd like to see there in Congress. So Adam Schiff, what did he do? He allegedly decided to get himself a little bit of a lower mortgage. You know, every little bit counts. Don't get me wrong, over the years. But you don't actually engage in something that would be considered fraudulent behavior in order to do it. This is what he is being accused of right now. I mean, he's really got a shifty day coming his way. He's accused here of lying on a mortgage application. And this is exactly what Leticia was accused of. Donald Trump going off on it just a couple of days ago. I've always suspected Shifty Adam Schiff was a scam artist, he wrote. And now I learned that the Financial Crimes Division of Fannie Mae has concluded that Adam Schiff is engaged in a sustained pattern of possible mortgage fraud. Adam Schiff said that his primary residence was in Maryland. Well, that would be kind of a problem, right? If you're the congressman from California, your primary residence would obviously be in none other than California. You don't say it's in Maryland. But you see, when you say it's your primary residence when you're buying a house, oh, guess what? You get a better deal on the mortgage. And the reason you get a better deal on the mortgage is because people know, banks know, that if it's your primary residence, you're more likely to pay off the mortgage when times get tough. The vacation house, that can go by the wayside, but the primary residence, it usually gets paid. And so that is why you get a lower rate on a primary residence. So he's living in California, but allegedly was saying that Maryland was his prime residence. And this is going back to 2009. So that's not good for him. Donald Trump weighing in on it. Here he is, outside on the tarmac. Listen.
President.
Schiff brought to justice?
I would love to see him brought to justice.
Is that jail?
I'll tell you what, I think Adam Schiff is one of the lowest of the low. I would love to see him brought to justice. He's a dishonest, crooked guy. I don't know about the individual charge, if that even happens. But Adam Schiff is a serious lowlife.
And tomorrow morning here in Washington, AOC is hosting Zoran Mamdani for breakfast.
Adam Schiff, I believe.
Sorry.
Okay, they're shifting on to another lowlife, if you ask me. Mamdani, who's running for New York mayor, is a total commie. He wants to actually get rid of personal property, believe it or not. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. Boy, AOC is his new best friend. Unbelievable stuff. Back to Adam Schiff, who is not a very nice guy. I remember he got censured in Congress because he led us down the path of Russia nonstop, a bunch of bogus, total lies that he was censured for. I want to play the clip.
You were censured in the House last year for, in their view, holding positions of power during the Trump presidency as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. And according to them, quote, abusing this trust by saying there was evidence of collusion between Trump's campaign and Russia. And I wonder if you are feeling at all, introspective at all, about that was, according to the Mueller report and according to your Republican colleagues, an overstatement. And I wonder if you think in any way you help set the table for these disruptors.
First of all, it wasn't an overstatement. There is evidence of collusion. The Trump campaign manager was meeting with Russian intelligence and giving them internal polling data, just to give you one example. And the Mueller report sets all this out.
It does say, quote, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities, which doesn't mean that he didn't, that there weren't meetings, but they didn't find evidence.
Mueller says that too. He says the fact that we didn't find proof beyond a reasonable doubt doesn't mean there wasn't evidence of conspiracy or coordination.
Oh, please. Don't you give me that, buddy boy. All right? We know what went down. You guys bought and paid. Well, Hillary Clinton bought and paid for opposition research through Perkins Coie, her law firm, who bought it through Fusion GPS. Interestingly, like a bunch of ex-Wall Street Journal reporters, total hacks. Like, these people are hacks. Like, they're just out there to try and drum up a bunch of junk. And you know what? That's exactly what they did. They went and hired an ex-British spy who had some contacts in Russia to kind of make it look like it was something. I read the thing, okay? I read the thing. BuzzFeed published it, which I was sort of shocked at. I'm like, why are you guys publishing this junk? I mean, honestly, whatever. But you're welcome to go and read it. It is total junk. It is like something that you would see in the National Enquirer at the supermarket tabloid stand. It is not a piece of intelligence. There's no way that this was any kind of intel. It was so obvious. And yet our government ran with it. Comey ran with it. Now, why did they do that? Because they wanted to take down Trump. And then when he actually won, they had this sort of in their back pocket to try and go after him and totally derail his entire presidency. Justin, thank you so much. I love that you guys are so supportive. And yes, I love seeing the subs are growing too. Thank you very, very much, Justin, there with a super chat. But my point being that they did a lot of damage. They tried, and they're trying in their little different ways to try and do it again. And you know what? It's not going to happen because I played to the soundbite at the top of the show, and we're going to get into it deeper. Donald Trump has his base behind him. And you know what? We're not budging. No way, no how. Not budging one single bit. So Schiff, you should be nervous. You should be super duper nervous. Here's a Fox report on Adam Schiff and his shifty moves, much like Leticia James. We'll get to her in a second.
Mortgage fraud, and part of the president's argument is this. I've always suspected shifty Adam Schiff was a scam artist. Adam Schiff said that his primary residence in Maryland to get a cheaper mortgage and rip off America when he must live in California because he was a congressman from California. And here's a quick refresher about President Trump's beef with Schiff.
He is using the department as both sword and shield, acting like a convicted felon because he is a convicted felon.
The Trump administration is corrupt.
No one, not even a president, is above the law.
Well, now the California lawmaker who spends a lot of time in Maryland is responding.
So the president today is accusing me of fraud. And the basis of his accusation is that I own a home in Maryland and I own a home in California. Big surprise. Members of Congress, almost all of them own more than one home or rent more than one home. because we're required to be on both coasts. So he is using my ownership of 2 homes to make a false claim of mortgage fraud.
The president wants stiff penalties here, so we had a chance to ask, how stiff?
You say that you want Adam Schiff brought to justice.
I would love to see him brought to justice. I'll tell you what, I think Adam Schiff is one of the lowest of the low. I would love to see him brought to justice. He is a dishonest, crooked guy. I don't know about the individual charge, if that even happens.
And we saw that, of course. But the point being, of course, Donald Trump has no use for this guy. Nobody has any use for this guy. This guy was just a liar, a political hack that was trying to take Donald Trump down from the very beginning. And you know what? There's this little thing called karma. And Shifty Schiff was not that bright. I mean, like, really and truly. I don't know where he went to school, what his back. I know he's a lawyer. By the way, you're a lawyer, buddy. For goodness sakes, you were the last person that should be lying on a mortgage application trying to say that one residence was your primary residence. His excuse is, I had 2 houses. Well, in this case, yeah, you were the representative from California. So guess what? That house in California was your primary house. It was. Any which way you slice it. And now you're trying to say, it was actually the one in Maryland because I was going to get a better rate. Maybe the one in Maryland was more expensive. I don't know. But it's not okay. And you know who else it's not okay with? Or for? Leticia James. Leticia James, who's coming apart at the seams as we speak. I mean, she had just found out that New York was losing even more money. And of course, she had also found out that she was being accused of exactly what Schiff is being accused of. Although in her case, it's even worse because these are 2023 allegations, meaning they are super ripe and super recent. And it means that she could risk going to jail, if you would, for 30 years. Here she is after she got the news, or maybe it was like hours before. She knew it was coming down. She was freaking out. So she's going into her sermon mode. Tell us, sister.
And you want me to sit in my seat and stand idly by and allow this craziness to happen? You can come after me if you want, but you elected me to stand up. You elected me to use the law. You elected me to go to court. You elected me to continue to challenge this administration. You elected me to stand up for the least of God's children. You elected me to continue fighting on. And I will fight on.
Oh, you'll fight on. You'll fight on what? I mean, come on. Enough already, people. Get with the program. Things are happening and they're good. And if any of these people had any sense, they'd think about things like, I don't know the Constitution. But you know what, Leticia, you're done. You're just so done. You're done because you did something that, frankly, I see the illegalities everywhere. I mean, you had an attorney general who was just absolutely rabid, going after fundraising and going after Donald Trump, even though she'd go on, I didn't do that. And we got all the tape. We played it for you a zillion times. 2 male, 2 pals who say, remember that one? Yeah, she said every day, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go after this guy. And it's all I'm going to do. And that's why you need to elect me. And that's what she fundraised off of. And then she said all kinds of crazy stuff, even during the trial itself. I mean, it was blatantly irresponsible. And you know what? This woman needs to be disbarred. But before she gets disbarred, I think she's not going to get elected. I think she's not going to get elected because I've seen the poll numbers. And she's suffering. She's suffering worse than anyone else in that state besides Kathy Hochul, who also may not get elected. But here's Leticia James, again, with a similar cadence of speech. Notice how she keeps repeating some of the same expressions over and over and over again. Watch.
It's that stone of hope that inspires me each and every day. And listen, faith and fear can never share the same space. And so I'm covered by the blood. And I'm not afraid of Donald Trump. You can come after me, but no enemy, nothing formed against me will perish. Nothing formed against me. Nothing formed against me. Nothing formed against me.
Nothing formed against you. She's also misquoting scripture and Martin Luther King and a few other things along the way there. But point being, she's got a story. She's sticking to it. She says that this was no big deal. It's just a clerical thing. I'm sorry, lady, you are a lawyer, are you not? You're the Attorney General of New York. What the heck are you doing trying to say that this is your primary residence there in the state of Virginia when, in fact, you're the AG in the state of New York?
As you know, we filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump and his family. We secured $454 million judgment against him, which is on appeal. The case is on appeal. I have no idea when that case will be decided. This investigation into me is nothing more than retribution. It's baseless. It has to do with the fact that on a power of attorney, I mistakenly indicated that I was a state of Virginia, but prior to that, I had indicated to the mortgage broker that, in fact, in bold cap letters, that I am not a resident of Virginia and never will be. And in the mortgage application, I indicated that I would not live in Virginia and I was not a resident. They just took the power of attorney and they're using that as a basis for enforcement for their investigation, when in reality, the power of attorney was never used to determine my eligibility for a mortgage for my niece for a home in the state of Virginia. My niece who has children, and because I am a good aunt, I wanted her to have a home.
Yeah, that's really it. Listen, they're both accused of mortgage fraud. I actually think, as I look at both of these cases, I'm going to be fully transparent. I think the Leticia James one is worse. One, because it's very, very recent. Two, because it's not just that, it's also the fact that she lied on documentation. And I've showed you these documents. You got to go all the way back to 1989. But she actually said that she was her father's wife in order to help him secure a loan for a mortgage. I mean, this is a pattern of behavior that I think that they're going to point to that is very, very problematic. You know, in terms of statute of limitations, I think that they can still at least use the 1989 situation to point to her 2023 problematic mortgage application. With Adam Schiff, it might be harder only because it's, full disclosure, 2009. But I do think that they're both risking a whole lot of legal trouble, certainly a lot of headache for Adam Schiff. He doesn't want to talk about it. He was actually asked today by one reporter on Capitol Hill, and he's like, anything to say? And he just kept going. He kept going. He does not want to talk about this at all because he doesn't want to implicate himself any further. She's the same way. She's just trying to say, oh, this is political vendetta. Oh, and by the way, this is why you need to make sure you donate more to me. Oh, and this is why I need to make sure that I use $10 million worth of taxpayer dollars in order to pay my darn legal bills because I got to hire Hunter Biden's lawyer. Yeah, that's exactly what she's doing. Abby Lowell. She's paying him to try and make this whole thing go away, and she's trying to say it's political. No. This isn't political. I'm sorry. You're the one who chose to say in 1989 that you were your father's wife, okay? Like, you're the one who made that call. Oh, and we can go back further because there's another case where she bought a brownstone and she said it was 4 levels instead of 5 because then she'd qualify, for, again, special money from the government. You might as well take everything you can get from the government. These people are such takers. That's part of the problem. They want everything. They want to control everything. They don't want to work for it. No. We don't work for stuff. We just have the government give it to us. And when the government doesn't give it to us, we just take it. Well, Leticia James, those days are over. You're about to find out. You're about to find out the hard way in many, many different ways. One, you're going to lose this election as Attorney General. Nobody in the state of New York likes you outside of New York City. God knows what they're thinking there, but they're the ones that are looking at a potential commie, for goodness sakes. We'll get to him, as I said. Meanwhile, not only are you going to not win your election, here's my prediction. The Court of Appeals is going to throw out the $500 million penalty that you got against the now president of the United States. And they're going to say, what the heck were you doing, lady? Because this case had no merit from the very beginning. Leticia James thinks she can decide what Mar-a-Lago is worth or anything is worth. And she wants to be able to come in between you and your banker in a private transaction, all while lying on her own transactions that are backed up by the FHA and federal money. Think of how twisted and messed up that is, you guys. I'm sorry. They got to get on this. Pam Bondi, I want her all over this case because this one is a problem. Adam Schiff is as well. And you know what else is? The Autopen disaster. And I'll tell you, you know what, Dr. Jill's hubby? Well, in the workplace, the work hubby, right, Anthony Brunel, he knows this is a problem because they're going to make all these pardons, 8,000 plus of these pardons, they're going to make them null and void. There's no way. If somebody doesn't know what they're signing off of, and I realize Joe Biden's trying to say in the New York Times, oh, I knew. Are you kidding me? He was so out of it. You know that. I know that. Robert Hur knew that. That's why they couldn't actually go after him for the documents that he took out of the White House and was keeping in his garage next to his Corvette. Come on. Come on, Anthony Burnell, taking the fifth over and over. I want you to watch this with me.
Mr. Bernal, did you ever advise President Joe Biden to pardon his son, Hunter Biden?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
So he doesn't want to answer that. And
Thank
watch.
you. We're going to go off the record real quick.
Okay, they go off the record. And now they're going to come back
on the record. Mr. Bernal, was President Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
What a guy.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did any unelected official or family member of President Joe Biden execute the duties of the presidency?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
There's a theme
Let
here.
the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, did President Joe Biden ever instruct you to lie regarding his health at any time, including but not limited in your testimony to Congress today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Bernal has invoked the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Mr. Bernal, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Mr. Bernal, is it your intention to decline to answer all questions put to you today by the committee on the basis?
He's going to say again, Fifth Amendment. I'm sorry. I cannot believe what they did. And that they thought that they could get away with it. And Anthony Burnell, again, he's the chief of staff for Dr. Jill Biden. He's the one that controlled everything because, you see, she was controlling Biden. She was his nurse, okay? She's his nurse, attending to the guy who can only be awake for however many hours a day. Remember that? Yeah, I mean, he was on vacation more than he was ever at work. And she's controlling access, therefore, to one President Biden. So who controls access to Dr. Jill? It happens to be Anthony Burnell, her chief of staff. This is not okay. Okay, so 8,000 plus of these Autopen signatures came in the day before he leaves office. You got to be kidding me. Caroline Leavitt weighing in on this moments ago at the White House. I want to show you.
Any update on the Autopen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the Autopen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. On the Autopen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the Autopen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives. And again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House. Because former President Biden himself admitted to the New York Times, I understand he never gave interviews when he was here, but now all of a sudden he wants to give one. And he said that he did not actually review every single pardon that he signed on his way out the door. That's incredibly concerning, and I can tell you it's something this president would never tolerate. This is a president who is signing things all the time. Any document that has legal implications, this president's signature is on it because he's the one making the decisions. It does not appear that was the truth in the previous White House, and I know the American people want to receive answers on who was running the show because the decisions that were made in this place really destroyed our country, and we deserve to get to the bottom of it.
You know, I guess you can plead the fifth. Justin is asking, like, why on earth is the aide claiming the fifth as well? We understand why the doctor would, right? And the doctor certainly did. We have that sound for you as well, because the doctor is terrified that he's also going to get implicated in this. I mean, the doctor, that one makes no sense. Like, why the heck weren't you giving him the kinds of health tests that a president would deserve? That's really, really weird, because you either were giving the test and you decided not to disclose the information you found, or you just didn't give the test because you're a really lousy doctor. And either way, like, you're not coming out of that one smelling clean. Anyway, Caroline Levitt making the point, of course, that this is highly unusual and super bizarre. Do you know that the only one that he actually signed was Hunter's? Of course. So, you know, I'm just saying, like, I think all of these things are in jeopardy right now. I think you're going to see that they're going to be null and void. It's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, most likely. And you know what they're going to decide? No, you can't just have an Autopen. You can't have 8,000 people that you're pardoning in one day. What kind of operation is this, for goodness sakes? Well, we know. Tim Burchett out of Tennessee thinks that these things were for sale, and that somebody basically was like, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching along the way. You know, Hunter's suspected in that. He's like, no, I had nothing to do with it. Here he is. He just gave a new interview on a podcast. I'll play you the sound.
Do you think Joe Biden was involved in some cover-up? Do you think Jake Tapper's telling the truth when he says that I was the acting chief of staff of the president? I was in that White House 12 days over the course of the last 2 years of the administration. Clearly, because I had other things going on. Okay? You ask one person to go on the record that would ever tell you that I was in any way making a single decision about anything in that White House. I stayed as far away as I possibly could, which, by the way, broke my heart.
So he was innocent. I'm not so sure about that. You know, you don't have to be in the White House in order to be kind of functioning as chief of staff. And that's one of the claims that was made in Jake Tapper's book, of course. But, you know, Hunter Biden, let's just say he doesn't have the best track record. And if he was involved at all in the quote unquote selling of those pardons, well, then you got quite an operation. I'm just speculating. But, you know, given what we know about the guy, it's all concerning. And don't forget, the one and only pardon that actually was really signed was Hunter Biden's. Remember this?
Looks different. It looks authentic. In fact, if you look at the last name, it almost looks like the president was having a hard time spelling his last name there. Is this White House of the opinion that the only pardon that would count is one that the president signed himself?
It's very interesting. Very interesting props. If you want to bring them to my office later so I can take a closer look, I would like to do that. The president is making a good point when he discusses the usage of the Autopen. Who was running the country for the past 4 years? Perhaps those documents were signed with the Autopen, something that this, I believe the Department of Justice is looking into. As you saw, Ed Martin made an announcement at the Department of Justice this morning to launch an investigation, because the American people deserve answers.
Okay, so the investigation is ongoing. Fauci's nervous. Senator Paul has demanded the DOJ look into exactly how his pardon came about. You know, you have the White House looking into all of these pardons. You have Dr. Jill's work hubby, of course, Anthony Brunel, taking the fifth, super nervous. You got the Biden doctor taking the fifth, super nervous.
Were you ever told to lie about the president's health?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer.
Did you ever believe the president was unfit to execute his duties as president?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer.
Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based upon the physician's patient privilege and in reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Ooh, okay, so he's going for everything. He's got the fifth, and he's got the patient relationship and the privacy of that. So he's in deep trouble, possibly, although, again, he's going to use the patient thing. I will say this. What about the media and all of it? Was the media told to actually say that Joe Biden was just doing great? Because they told us over and over again, whether it was Jake Tapper, who now is taking it all back with his big new book, or whether it was Joe Scarborough, or anyone else for that matter, we kept hearing stuff like this. Watch.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now, he's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
Yeah,
not a close
right.
second.
Okay. So, you know, the media was lying too. You kind of wonder, were they being told to do this the way the doctor was possibly being told to do this, all while the pardons kept coming and coming and coming? I'm telling you, Fauci's got to be really nervous right now because Rand Paul's getting serious. Rand Paul is like a dog with a bone when it comes to Fauci. I mean, he's a libertarian at heart. He really didn't like the whole shutdown thing that came about and all the ridiculous rules that came about and the power that Fauci seemed to just bask in. And it kept growing and growing and growing. You know, Fauci's a little guy. I have a little dog. My little dog barks a lot. You know, he likes to feel powerful. You kind of wonder if Fauci was somewhat similar. Senator Rand Paul has formally issued a criminal referral of Dr. Anthony Fauci to Attorney General Pam Bondi in the Department of Justice following revelations that Fauci's pardon was signed by an Autopen. So have at it, he's thinking. We got to go after this guy because he deserves to have been gone after. This came up recently in an interview I want to share with you.
The New York Times is reporting that Joe Biden's former chief of staff, Jeff Zients, was the one who approved the Autopen's use for the 11th hour pardons. That's the night before Joe Biden left office. They started pardoning all these people. The pardons included a preemptive pardon for General Mark Milley, a preemptive pardon for Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, you are reissuing your criminal referral of Anthony Fauci to the Department of Justice. Your reaction to now Jeff Zients being the one who pardoned Fauci, okay? It wasn't Joe Biden. He was pardoned by Jeff Zients.
Yeah, my first question is, who knew? Who knew that there was a President Jeff Zients and he was in charge of pardons? I mean, it is really shocking and, in all likelihood, criminal. Now, will they try to backpedal and say Biden was somehow involved? I think that's what they'll try. But an Autopen pardon, preemptive pardon, there's a lot to go on here. The only way we could actually get this into court is hopefully the DOJ would do their job, indict Anthony Fauci for the felony of lying to Congress, and then take it to court, and then they can plead that he has been pardoned, but then the court could judge whether the pardon is valid. So the only way we get this into court is someone who's been pardoned will have to be indicted, and I would promote that Anthony Fauci is a prime specimen for this.
So I believe he said that he didn't do gain-of-function research. What specifically did Fauci lie about in front of Congress?
About gain-of-function research. And in fact, we have him contradicted by several other members of the NIH who testified and said, of course, it was gain-of-function research. We also have the own words of the people receiving the money. The people receiving the money, the people who were the conduit with Wuhan, China, was a group called Eco Health Alliance. We have notes from them going back to the NIH saying, thank you for restarting our gain-of-function money. They actually acknowledged that it was gain-of-function. So, no, I don't think he has a leg to stand on here. And there are many observers of this who believe that he did lie and that he continued to change and modify the definition. In fact, one time when he testified, the NIH had changed the definition right before his testimony. In the hours before he came to testify, they had changed it on the website to a new definition. So he was playing games with words.
Yeah, and I wonder how that all came about, right? So Anthony Fauci, he's now in jeopardy right now, given that the Autopen signed his pardon. And I think this is going to be big, guys. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, they were doing all kinds of stuff. I mean, Comey's in jeopardy. You've got Brennan in jeopardy. You got all kinds of people in jeopardy right now. Good news is markets, they continue to like Donald Trump. You see the markets closing out the day higher on all this Trump optimism. We've got Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.5%, S&P up 0.5%, NASDAQ up 0.7%. This is good stuff all around. So again, a lot of optimism, even in the face of him saying, you know what, I'm done with the Fed chair. I don't need this Fed chair. Listen, I want you to go over to 76research.com. Use my code word dollar. This is my company that I started with a very dear longtime friend who spent 20 years on Wall Street, ran billions of dollars. And you know what? We've made you some money if you've been in it. Take a look at the portfolios while you're there, because there's a lot of things to pick from, a lot of things that you should be investing in right now, because this is going to continue. I firmly, firmly believe it. Turning to James Comey right now. James Comey, as you heard me just mention there, his pardon could be in jeopardy. His daughter just got fired by the Trump administration. Who knew his daughter was actually running? This shocked me. I didn't realize this. The daughter, Maurene, was actually running the investigation into Epstein. Oh, and also Diddy. I'm like, is this like a little genre you got, of people that apparently have great camera systems in their houses and they have other important people come there and now you're the one prosecuting both of them? So Maurene Comey is the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey. She worked on the criminal cases against Jeffrey Epstein as well as Maxwell and, of course, Diddy as well. So this is a big deal. She's out. She's out. Unc Andy, thank you again for the generosity. Let me see if I can get to your comment here. But this is very fascinating to see. She issued a big, oh my goodness, letter saying that this is all about fear and he's going to use fear and blah, 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 blah. It's kind of a thing that we keep hearing over and over and over again. You're going to see this as a theme throughout the Democrat sort of establishment. I have a couple sound bites I want to play for you, and they all go back to the same thing, fear. She writes, Maurene Comey, the daughter of James Comey, if a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into the decisions of those who remain. She continued that fear is the tool of a tyrant, wielded to suppress independent thought. Instead of fear, let this moment fuel the fire that already burns at the heart of this place, a fire of righteous indignation of abuses of power or commitment to seek justice, etc., for victims. I don't know. I think it's really weird. I'm just going to say it. It's really, really weird that she's the one that's running the Epstein thing as well as Diddy. Like, how did that happen? I mean, Donald Trump keeps saying like that they were trying to implicate him in something. I just think it's weird that she's the one that was running it all. And, as for her being fired, I'm guessing that he's not very trusting of some of the people that are around there these days. She writes again, yesterday was unexpectedly my last day in the office. I was summarily fired, but via memo from Main Justice that did not give a reason for my termination. Every person lucky enough to work in this office consistently hears 4 words to describe our ethos: without fear or favor. And then she goes on and on about the whole fear thing. For the majority of my nearly 10 years here, fear was never really conceivable. We don't fear bad press. We don't fear this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, she's going on about fear. Well, let me just say that maybe Daddy had a hand in that little resignation letter that she just released. I just am thinking, because it seems to be echoing everything that we are hearing from all the Democrats. Oh, he's putting in this sort of fear into everyone. Are you kidding me? I mean, because he wants to clean up the country, because he wants to actually, say, hey, if you come here illegally, you're not allowed. That's somehow a fear tactic. I'm sorry. Here's Jamie Raskin getting asked kind of an obvious question, because the Democrats are trying to, run and take the ball with this whole Epstein thing, and it's not getting them anywhere. By the way, you saw the latest poll numbers, and we can talk about that. But Jamie Raskin was asked the obvious question on MSNBC this morning, like, what the heck, guys? If you had all this, like, why didn't you actually bring it up earlier?
I mean, you could have gotten that from 21 to 25 when Democrats controlled the DOJ. Why? It was a crisis then. It's a crisis now. Why didn't Democrats call for it from 21 to 25?
So, I mean, you'd have to go back and look specifically at particular prosecutorial decisions. and what was taking place in terms of the other cases. So I don't know. We could try to reconstruct that record. But the point is that Donald Trump is the one who has led the crusade to say that that Epstein, who was his very close friend, and there's all kinds of pictures of them.
Yeah. Okay, you see this? So they're trying to twist it all on its head. But I'm telling you right now, it's going nowhere. It's getting them nowhere because very, very interestingly, and I knew this, but, well, I didn't totally know this. I was actually kind of worried about this like splintering in the MAGA base. So I'm really actually happy to see this. It was my instinct to think that everybody's going to stick by him, but this is the proof. Okay, guys, this tells you what you need to know. America is on his team, period. Full stop. Here is the latest poll number. I want you to see the reaction of the CNN reporter who's like, wow, you know what? He really is. Teflon. Take a peek.
I mean, look, I think this one surprised me a bit because of all these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files. You might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex, or close there too, in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints, or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah. I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%. One respondent. This is a great little finding that Ariel Edwards-Levy, who of course is part of our polling unit, found. Just one single Republican said that the nation's top problem is in fact the Epstein case. Not much of a surprise that therefore Donald Trump's approval rating has not suffered with Republicans because of the Epstein case. Because the bottom line is most Americans say it's not high up on their priority list.
No, it's not. Okay, so this is the deal. The base loves him. The base isn't going anywhere. It doesn't matter what Tom, Dick, and Harry say. It does not matter because you know what? They elected him not to, I mean, look, I'm not saying that, you know, it wouldn't be great to figure out exactly what went down on that. I don't know if we ever will because I think there's a good chance that there were some intelligence ops involved. I don't know. I don't know the story. But you know what? The point is the economy's doing well. Inflation's coming down. We're getting safer. Because they're cleaning up the streets. And this is what's killing the Democrats right now. Absolutely killing them. As Donald Trump climbs yet again in the polls. There's a Democrat that appears on CNN from time to time. She used to be on Fox, and she's not the brightest, okay? Like, you know, I mean, there are Democrats that are smart, and there are those that aren't. And yet, not only is she not so smart, she's actually also highly irresponsible. So I want to show you this exchange. They get nothing, right? So there was a CPI report that came out the other day, an inflation report, and it was actually pretty benign. Like inflation is like up 0.3%. It's like nothing. And core CPI is actually down. So like or down from what was expected. It is a very, very decent and good read, but you wouldn't know it if you listen to some of these Dems or this lady who's kind of an idiot trying to make a comparison on egg prices, suggesting that we need to look at it year over year. Egg prices year over year. Hey, how about we look at egg prices since Donald Trump came to office, because those are two different scenarios. Watch.
I do think the panic over this report today is unwarranted, but I do think data is worth watching every month. But it's not. But it seems like a lot of panic for no reason. You're getting matched reports every month.
It's not panic when we were promised on August 15th of last year that the price of eggs, that the price of bacon, and the price of apple. 69%. Actually, eggs year over year are up by 20. Year? Are up 27%.
They're down.
I'm
Since
sorry.
he took office, they're down.
But if
year over year.
All right. He promised when he took office they would go down.
Hold on. Let's not fight about statistics here. She's right. Year over year, they are up significantly. Month over month, they've gone down, but that's from their high, which occurred partly due to bird flu and other things.
Right.
So,
So
continue.
let's be very clear. He promised 3 things: the price of eggs, the price of bacon, and the price of apples were going to go down. I can quote him. It was on August 15th of last year. He said they're going to go down almost immediately when I become president. All of them are up. They're up year over year, and that's a fact. And these, you think it's hysteria or whatever you called it. People are suffering. You know how I know this? Because I heard all about that from you last year when I would debate you, and you kept talking about how the price of eggs is really high. Well, guess what? It's much higher now than it was when you and I were debating.
We're literally lying about the
Wait,
eggs.
excuse me.
Eggs are down.
No, whoa.
Eggs are down.
Guys, stop. Okay, Scott, before
Scott?
you accuse her of lying, I literally just went over this. She is correct that year over year, the
Since
price...
Donald Trump took office, what
but
happened
Scott,
to the eggs?
Oh my God. Do you not understand that the difference between...
Who was the president last year at this time?
Scott, do you
And
understand?
And then
Hold
when
on,
did
Julie.
they spike?
Julie, let me
And
just,
when did
let
they
me
come
just
down?
resolve this so we can move on because this is a silly
You
conversation.
totally derailed this conversation. She's trying to have a serious panel, and
you
you're out here
are
arguing
derailing
about
the
eggs.
conversation.
No, I'm not.
Pardon me.
She's not telling the
Pardon
truth about
me,
the eggs.
but you're derailing the conversation, okay? I think people have the ability to understand the difference between the price of eggs today and the price of eggs a year ago today versus what you would prefer to talk about, which is the price of eggs when Donald Trump was inaugurated. You're just talking about two different...
about his policies?
You're talking about 2 different time horizons. Okay? Let's just leave it at that
Aren't
and
his
move on.
policies or what
Please,
it's-
continue.
They made it higher than was when Joe
Continue,
Biden
Share
was
Michael.
president.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like, are we living in cuckoo land? By the way, Leslie, thank you for your generosity. Leslie pointing out she's not going to be here tomorrow. And we might be at 9,000 tomorrow. We just need 2,000 more subs. So tell your friends, make sure you pass the word along. We're here live every day. 2,000 more subs to get to 900,000. It's crazy, right? Anyway, I'm like watching this clip and I'm like, these people are unbelievable. So I want to show you. Here's Trading Economics, egg prices. Do you see that plummet? So they were going up during Joe Biden. And then guess what? In the last 6 months, this is egg prices in the last 6 months, they have plunged. Okay, so since Donald Trump has come to office, inflation has gone down. Egg prices have plunged. You may talk about them being up 27%, you moronic CNN people that don't understand math or anything for that matter. And they're trying to use year over year numbers. They're trying to bake in all of Joe Biden's price increase in eggs, and they're not looking at how they've come down. So that's setting the record straight with those people, these moronic people. 2,000 more subs till we get to 900,000. So do Leslie a favor. She just chipped in a big amount of money to try and goose you all. Make sure you tell all your friends. Anyway, Ken Langone, he's the founder of Home Depot, and he's a great guy. I've known him many, many years, and I love Ken. He went on to CNBC, and he's like, you know what? This president is going down in history as one of the best ever. Think about that. Gosh, the Democrats hate it, do they not? Watch.
Look, let me tell you right now, I am sold on Trump. In fact, I'll say this. I think he's got a good shot at going down in history as one of our best presidents ever.
That is a real turnaround because you didn't want to vote for him.
I tell you the reason. I want to tell you, I'm a believer. What I'm seeing happening is absolutely nothing short of a great thing. And there's a beat. People are walking with more bounce in there. It's all around.
I gave you quite a bit of grief.
Huh?
I gave you grief.
You give me grief?
I gave you grief when it was a binary choice. You're still complaining about Trump and it was a binary choice. It's like, are you kidding me?
Knowledge implies one thing. When you made a mistake, admit it.
Okay.
I think this guy is turning out to be a president.
Right.
One of the pilots on that miraculous trip to Iran that we wiped out, whatever the hell we wiped out.
Right.
He said, you're the only guy that in the presidency that would have done what you did. One of the pilots said that.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's probably right.
Wow, right? So Ken is totally sold on Trump. And I think I go back to, the base not caring about some of the distractions out there, because I think the reality is they like what he's doing. And part of what he's doing is creating an environment that is better for everyone, right? We've got massive growth in the markets. We've got an economy that's growing. We've got inflation that's coming down. It's driving the Democrats nuts. So they're off to this, that, and the other, and they're going to create all kinds of distractions. But here's the reality. Things are good. Isn't that nice? Things are good. I mean, maybe interest rates could be lower. This is Donald Trump. You know, he's been flirting with the whole idea of getting rid of Powell because Powell has left interest rates a little too high in his perspective, which has penalized everyday working Americans because, you know, it means higher car loans. It means higher prices for real estate. And you know, Donald Trump wants lower rates. He's always wanted lower rates. And there's some interesting data. Actually, we looked at this at 76 Research that shows you that QE has a bigger influence on inflation than actual rates do. So one could make the argument that bringing down rates would help the middle class right now. And Jerome, for whatever reason, isn't even willing to entertain that idea. Here's Donald Trump speaking on the issue of whether or not we're going to have a Fed chief change in the future. Watch.
Or so, and we'll pick somebody that's good, and we'll pick somebody. I just want a fair job. We want to see lower interest rates. Our country deserves it. We're making a lot of money. We're doing great as a country. We have no inflation, record stock market, record business, record everything. Everything's a record now. We had the worst inflation in history under Biden, and now we have almost no inflation. We've done a great job, and we should have the interest rates cut.
So you're saying the other day that Scott Bessent, you're so happy with him at Treasury that, you know, he's not your top option to replace Jerome Powell whenever that may be, whenever you decide what you want to do with him.
Scott's doing a very good job. I'm very happy with Scott.
Is Kevin Hassett on the top of your list?
Kevin's somebody would consider. Kevin is fantastic, too. We have a lot of good people for that job. It's not a tough job, to be honest. Assuming you're smart, it's not a tough job. If you're a dummy, then I guess it's a tough job. But it might be one of the easiest jobs I've ever seen. And now on top of it, he's building a close to $3 billion little nest egg for himself. He's not doing the right job. We should be saving $1 trillion a year in interest. You know, when he talks about cost, we should be saving. Think of it, $1 trillion a year. Add that with the tariffs and everything else. But he just doesn't want. He's a knucklehead. But we'll see how that. We'll see how he's listening to this. That's a strange conversation. But you know, we like to say it like it is. But we have a lot of.
He is a knucklehead. You heard him, a total knucklehead. So he's not very high on Powell. I'm not so high on Powell either. As you know, I was really frustrated to see him printing so much money in 2020 when Biden came into office. Simultaneously, you had Chuck and Nancy doing all they could, and on top of it, you had Biden signing the third stimulus check. I mean, it was a recipe for total inflation, and we've been feeling the pain ever since until, what do you know, Donald Trump came into office. So that's the good news. I will tell you this. Remember, 76research.com, use code word dollar. The Democrats at this moment, they don't know what to do. All they can do is resist. How great is that, right? They're just like digging in. They refuse now to cooperate with ICE, and it's getting ugly. You get the mayor of Chicago, who I'm telling you is probably going to find himself under arrest because he seems to think that he can run things his own way. He doesn't even care about the Constitution. He just said it.
Look, we are a welcoming city ordinance. Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE. Whatever their constitutional authority is.
Ooh. Come on. Brandon. What is this, like some kind of civil war? You're just not going to cooperate with the DHS? I'm sorry, it's not going to fly. It's just not going to fly because you see there is this little thing called the Constitution, and in the Constitution there's a section on naturalization, and guess what? The federal government, if they have any power at all, they have the power over who the heck is in the country, okay? I'm not going to let my Irish get up, but this is so stupid. Stupid people making stupid arguments because they're looking for some kind of massive conflict. What idiots they are. And I'll tell you, the White House isn't budging on anything. They're not budging. Hey, you know what? For that matter, if you came here illegally, no matter what kind of amnesty you're trying to get, it's not happening. Maria Salazar, down in Florida, Republican congresswoman, she's trying to still paint some kind of path forward for some people who have been here in this country illegally for many years, and she wants to give them a path. And guess what? She's getting a big giant NO oh no. Watch.
First on Congress. Congresswoman Salazar introduced legislation that would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. 10 Republicans signed on to what she's calling the Dignity Act. I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it made it to its desk.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. We've been focused on, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed, which is another historic accomplishment of this president in record time. The Genius Act this week, the rescissions package, that's been the focus of the White House. But the president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
You hear it? Okay. So not only is he not going to support amnesty, he's not going to support Chicago doing its own thing, LA doing its own thing, Boston doing its own thing, New York City doing its own thing. And fortunately, he has the cooperation of Eric Adams there, though not the cooperation of Attorney General Leticia James nor Kathy Hochul. So all of these people that are digging in on this whole thing, I think they're going to be met with a rude awakening. Brandon Johnson, you listening out there in Chicago?
Acknowledge the level of anxiety and fear and trepidation that this administration has caused. You've never seen a society improve or expand under this type of fear. And we're going to continue to resist, and we're going to do it in many different ways, whether it's taken to the streets or to the courts or policy. One of the things that I am very proud of is that we are a welcoming city, which means our local law enforcement do not dub or behave as federal ICE agents. And so our local law enforcement, as we continue to rebuild and expand trust amongst all of our residents, it's important that we hold that line.
Why? Why must you fight the federal government with the one power that they obviously have? And why do you keep going back to fear, 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 fear? Oh, because that's the talking point coming out of the Democrat Party. Didn't we just hear from Comey's daughter, Maurene, who said, we don't need to have this fear ruling everything? Fear is the tool of a tyrant, she said. Yeah, fear is their number one message of the day. Representative Jayapal, Representative Jayapal, she actually got caught in a little bit of a situation. She's talking about fear too. Everybody's afraid. You know, you're not supposed to actually have people who are here illegally getting snap cards. That's actually, again, against federal law. And she got kind of caught admitting that that's happening in her district. Listen to her as she tries to promote the fear thing and then digs herself into a little bit of a hole. So now I guess the administration is going to have to be looking into just exactly what's going on in Jayapal's district where they're giving out snap cards. Your taxpayer dollars.
Yesterday, I was at a food bank in my district talking about the SNAP cuts, the horrible SNAP cuts and Medicaid cuts. And they told me that people are not even showing up to Head Start where they get their food. They're not showing up to the food banks because they're afraid. And it's not just undocumented immigrants. It is people of all legal statuses. It's undocumented immigrants who have been here for 20 years.
So she kind of let that one slip. But here's the deal. They're refusing cooperation with DHS, refusing cooperation, obviously, with ICE. And I think this is going to hurt them very badly. Because if it does go all the way to the Supreme Court, I'm telling you, this is, again, the one power, right? The one power that indeed the federal government most definitely has. Whoops. Do we get that? We get some camera issues going on. But at least we're in focus today, guys. That's a big deal, right? Okay, let me zoom in so you can see this just a little bit better. Constitutional basis for federal power over immigration. Migration and Importation Clause. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 1. This clause limited Congress's ability to ban the slave trade until 1808, but it indirectly confirms Congress's future authority to regulate or restrict migration. That's one of them, the Migration and Importation Act. You also have the Naturalization Clause. You also have the Supremacy Clause. In other words, it goes on and on. The federal government has the power, for goodness sakes, to decide who's in the country. And you don't get to decide that, Brandon Johnson out there in Chicago, or Michelle Wu out in Boston, or Karen Bass in LA, or anyone else, Kathy Hochul, Leticia James. You guys are so freaking off base. And you are the ones that are deliberately trying to create this challenge. Oh, because you think it's going to work. And apparently you've had the media on your side for quite a bit of it, though for how long, I'm not so sure. Here's big news today as far as the media goes. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The Senate just passed a bill cutting funding for $1.1 billion that would be going for all kinds of state-funded media. The days of state-funded, taxpayer-funded media, they are coming to an end, and I consider that a good thing. Here's CNN, who does not.
This is the end of a publicly funded media era. This dates back to the days of black and white television. Back in the 60s, Congress saw a value for PBS and NPR, but no more. As a result of this rescission, radio and TV stations will have to lay off staffers and cut back on programming. Some smaller stations will suffer more than bigger stations, right? Popular shows like Daniel Tiger's.
Oh, Daniel Tiger. Is he like the spinoff from Mr. Rogers? I saw Mr. Rogers the other day. I wanted my kids to see it. It was a little too slow for them, which is disappointing because it shows you media today, it's so action packed, right? That the kids can't sit and watch Mr. Rogers. They're like, really? You used to like this? I'm like, yeah, this is the greatest show ever. And they had this moment where Mr. Rogers was actually singing a song about how a mommy is a mummy and a daddy is a daddy. And only mummies can have the babies. And only daddies can be daddies, but daddies cannot have babies. Dying. I'm like, wow, times have changed, because I'm pretty sure the kind of programming they're putting on NPR or PBS these days would not be saying that. Gosh, good old wholesome fun. Look, Caroline Leavitt had this to say moments ago, the White House weighing in on what's going down with the discontinuation of state funding for state media. Watch.
The CEO of NPR, she's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Congressman Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week Roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money.
Hear, hear. I mean, for goodness sakes. I got to show you this clip of the NPR CEO just getting brutally destroyed by the new freshman congressman from Texas, who, by the way, does a heck of a better job than one Jasmine Crockett. Anyway, this is really fascinating to see. He completely destroys this uber woke woman with her own words and her own history. And now, she's not going to have an organization anymore. They're losing a lot of money. Watch.
Would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles?
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone
Seems
to pay
to be what you're
reparations,
suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe it's morally wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being illegal.
You tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book, but...
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
Brandon Gill for the win. My gosh, he's good, right? That's Dinesh's son-in-law, Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law. He is so good. I mean, he had all the receipts, and he totally took her down. This is the woman who's running NPR. So guess what? They're losing a lot of money. The Senate just voted to cut the $1.1 billion that they would get. NPR, PBS, and Congress is going to do the same. So she's going to be looking for a job pretty darn soon. Maybe she'll have time now to actually go and do the reading of all those books that she pledged to have read on Twitter, which is what has so informed her thoughts that she no longer has when Brandon Gill is asking her the questions. Gosh, that's priceless. Totally, totally, totally priceless. These people are something else. Something else indeed. Wow. Do you know that Coca-Cola may actually no longer have corn syrup in it? If the Trump administration gets this one through, I'm like, man, like this is amazing, right? RFK Jr., he's on the case saying he's got all kinds of companies saying we're going to get rid of this, that, and the other. The food companies getting rid of all their dyes.
I'm particularly happy to be here today because this is relevant to my favorite food, which is ice cream.
Okay, it's a little bit hard to hear. But basically, he's got like a whole slew of companies. RFK Jr. getting rid of the bad stuff. Like they want to get rid of that red dye. They want to get rid of the sugar in Coca-Cola and put cane sugar in instead to try and make it a little bit healthier. And Donald Trump seems okay with it. I mean, he likes his McDonald's and he likes his Coca-Cola, his Diet Coke to be specific. But he seems to be coming around. Listen, these ingredients matter. They really do. And it brings me to, we're totally independent here on the Trish Regan Show, and we love being independent. And we thank our sponsors for all they do to help us stay independent like that. One of the sponsors is Balance of Nature, and Balance of Nature is a vitamin company. They got all kinds of good things on their website. I want you to go check it out because you're not going to see any of those weird things, right? Any of those red dyes or any of those crazy ingredients, any of those fillers, etc., in any of their products because they've done this the right way for a long, long time. which is really good. I mean, I'm going through the house. Some of you guys have heard the story. The kids are going nuts because they took away the Fruit Loops. I'm hoping I can bring them back, though, because Ferraro just bought the company. Ferraro bought the company, and Ferraro does not, and they're Italian, you know, so the Europeans, they don't like any of that junk. They're probably going to get rid of the red dye in the Fruit Loops, which I'm like, woohoo, this is great. Anyway, no red dye in any of the Balance of Nature products. Go check them out today. Balance of Nature. Use my name, code word TRISH, T-R-I-S-H. You get 35% off, plus free shipping, plus a free money back guarantee, and there's all kinds of good stuff. You don't have to take my word for it. There's tons of testimonials on there. Ask Leslie. Leslie's been taking this stuff for years and years. She loves it, and my kid's music teacher also told me he loves it. So plenty of people have said what it has done for them. Listen, what you put into your body really matters. Exercise matters. Drinking lots of water matters, your sort of overall state of happiness. Remember to stay positive, glass half full. All of that stuff matters. But also, you know, you got to be careful what you eat, and you got to be careful what you ingest. So check it out, balanceofnature.com today. Ooh, the Obamas. The Obamas are really struggling with this whole divorce rumor thing that just has taken off onto a life of its own. I often wondered, was she just doing this to kind of try and drum up some ratings for her show? Well, if she was, careful what you wish for, Michelle, because you still don't have any ratings, but you do have a whole bunch of divorce rumors that are plaguing you every single day. Of course, some of that was self-induced because you didn't bother to show up for Jimmy Carter's funeral nor the president's inauguration. Well, she decided to bring the hubby onto the show. And here's what went down. Watch.
IMO, look at you.
Wait, you guys like each other?
Oh yeah, really, huh?
That's so
the
nice.
rumor mill. It's my husband, y'all.
She took me back.
Now don't start.
I can't.
It was touch and go for a while.
It's so nice to have you both in the same room
I
together.
I know, because when we aren't, folks think we're divorced.
Let me tell you. First of all, see, I'm in Wichita, Kansas for Austin's tournament.
Uh-huh.
And you know, this podcast has made me quite popular.
You're big shot.
Famous.
And people come up to me all the time. This woman came up to me and she was so nice. She was like, "Can I have a picture?" Yeah. And then, so you know how you get the side hug? And she's like, "What did he do?"
And you knew she was going to say what he did.
And I was like,
it wasn't like, what happened to him?
That is so
It was like,
terrible.
how'd he mess up?
How'd he mess up? And I said, well, what makes you think he messed up? Why couldn't it have been
why
her?
did you just say no one messed up?
Well, because I wanted to keep this conversation going so that I could tell you about it.
Oh, Lord.
I was like, what? And she's like, he did something, didn't he? I was like, don't worry, everything's fine. And let me tell you, she was so happy, you would have thought I gave her a Christmas gift.
These are the kinds of things that I just miss, right? So I don't even know this stuff's going on.
Right.
And then somebody will mention it to me, and I'm all like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're tough to take. Okay, they're really, really, really tough to take. But she brings her husband on because she wants to kind of turn those rumors off, and she makes this point. You know, that she's had a hard time. Again, we have to hear about how hard her marriage is all the time, but she never thought of quitting. I don't know. I think they're trying too hard. What do you guys think?
Been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting my man. And we've had some really hard times, so we have had a lot of fun times, a lot of adventures, and I have become a better person because of the man I'm married to.
Okay, don't make me cry now. Right at the beginning of the show.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Don't let me start tearing up now.
And welcome to IMO.
Welcome to IMO.
IMO. Oh my gosh. You know, I think that they're actually getting ready to call it quits. Either that or she's getting ready to announce her candidacy in 2028. I'm sorry. The podcast has failed. Her marriage is allegedly failing. And nobody wants them back. No one. Michelle is like the most unhappy person ever. All she does is go on this show and complain. I'm sick of it.
we don't articulate as Black women our pain because it's almost like nobody ever gave us permission to do that.
And does anyone care?
Yeah, there's
Will
that.
they care?
There's that
we
part.
knew, I think we would care. If we knew.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like cringy, 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 cringy. This is the woman who didn't think it was important to show up for Jimmy Carter's funeral. No, she was on an extended vacation and she couldn't possibly show up, nor could she show up for the inauguration. And so then people thought, well, maybe she's getting divorced. I thought so. I mean, maybe, she's petty enough that she doesn't like Trump enough that she's not going to go to the inauguration, okay? Because she doesn't feel any sense of duty or any responsibility to the fact that she was first lady for 8 years and therefore is part of history. If she doesn't feel like going, she doesn't go, right? That's Michelle, because she's completely selfish. She's the last person you'd ever want running the country, period, full stop. But I would also add to that it is absolutely fair to say this couple is not really working out because she didn't even show up for Jimmy's funeral. I mean, that one blew me away. I mean, Jimmy Carter, who's like, the messiah of the Democrat Party, and she couldn't even go to his funeral. What was that about? Meanwhile, she can't stop complaining about the hubby all the time, constantly on the show. It's like one big complain fest. I'm not sure what this is about. I don't think it gets you ratings. I'm really sick of it. But, listen to her.
When a girlfriend comes to visit, it's usually like, you got to stay for 2 days because it's going to take us
so much
2
time
days
to
check up. Now, Barack's come in, he's come out, and he's like, y'all still talking? He'll sit down for 5 minutes, be like, how are the boys? And the flip side of my husband, right? Because he golfs. And golfing takes as long as the first session of our, it takes 5 hours to golf. He'll golf with his buddies, come back, and be like, how's X? He's good. It's like, what'd y'all talk about? Nothing.
Yeah, she just rags on him like every chance. It's like a whole, let me just make fun of my husband. She's gone after all these television shows complaining about her marriage, complaining about her husband, complaining about how hard it was to be first lady. And then people didn't know, we had to pay for a lot of our own stuff. Like, well, you're doing fine now because I think you get paid a lot on speeches. I don't know who's paying for your podcast or who your advertisers are, but I'm guessing that's money down the drain because I don't think the woman could sell anything. I don't even think she can sell herself. I know it's torture to even have to watch her in real time. But here's the deal, guys. That is not a marriage that's doing well by any stretch of the imagination. It's in part because of the selfishness of that woman. But I look back on their 8 years and I'm really upset by it because I think there was a lot of damage done to our country. And we're now paying the price. We're paying the price vis-a-vis people like this Mamdani, right? The communist that wants to run for the mayor of New York City. He is a travesty and a disgust to who we are as a nation. The capitalism that has made us the envy of the world is something that he scorns, along with AOC and Bernie Sanders and the rest of them, of course, all while flying on private jets. But guess what? It gets even worse. This guy actually is talking about taking away property rights. In all seriousness, new sound from the guy who wants to be the next commie mayor of New York City here today. Listen.
That every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that people try and play like gotcha games about these kinds of things. And it's like, look, I care more about whether somebody has a home.
Okay. So I'm just going to back up for a second. We talked about this over the 4th of July. Fifth Amendment of the Constitution guarantees property rights. Why does it do that? Because guess what? We were trying to escape the monarchy in England where the king had all the property rights and would just dole it out, right, to people. So how is what Mamdani talking about anything different than what we came here 250 years ago, soon to be, come July 4th, next year? How is that any different? I mean, one is a king, or one would be Mamdani, or AOC, or Bernie Sanders, or some kind of crazy communist that thinks that they control all the resources and they will just give it to you and give it to you and give it to you and give it to you. That is no different, frankly. than the whole monarchy system that we came here as a nation to escape, and that our founding fathers brilliantly put into the Constitution to guarantee life, liberty, and happiness, and property rights. Okay, because they wanted the chance for everyday people to be able to buy property, have property, own property, and for it not to be taken by the government. You'll wonder why we get all the innovation here in America. Think about Ben Franklin putting in, effectively, intellectual property rights at a time when nobody else was doing this. You had an idea for a great invention in France. Well, guess what? They'd confiscate it. They'd take it. It wouldn't be yours. So why would anybody do anything? They never understood. And these people, these idiots on the left, they still don't understand the beauty and the miracle of capitalism and why it's made us the success we are. I sat down just a couple months ago with Daniel Bassali from AFP. And you know what? Daniel gets it. AFP gets it. And the birthday party has already started. 250 years. What makes us great? Daniel Bassali, good to see you. I mean, we got a big birthday coming up, right? 250 years this great nation has been around, and it is great.
That's right. Good to see you, Trish, and thank you for having me on. Coming up July 4th, 2026, America turns 250, but we don't want to wait to celebrate how awesome the country is. So AFP, we're getting started early.
No, I love it. I love that you guys are taking the whole year to celebrate this birthday because it is a big deal. And, you know, it's one thing to have fireworks and parades. It's another thing, though, to, I think, talk about and just get sort of back to basics about why this nation was founded and why we need to remember this. Because in light of some of the stuff that's been going on, whether it be AOC, Bernie Sanders, or Mamdani in New York, I'm telling you, people are forgetting what is so special. So just for a little moment, like walk me down memory lane and give us a little history lesson, because these founding fathers, they were way ahead of their times.
Yeah, so that's the entire point of this campaign. We want to connect people to our founding principles. We believe that what makes America special, what has gotten us to this point, is our principles and our people. And those principles, they're special. They created the freedom and opportunity that we enjoy today, that's created the greatest nation humankind has ever seen. I mean, some of these ideas were radical when the founding fathers put them on paper. Dignity, that every person has inherent worth, that rights come from our creator, not the government. Freedom, that you should be able to speak and worship and live the way you want, and that we have freedom. The people give the power to the government. We don't get our power from the government. Opportunity, that we all deserve our chance to take a risk, to fail or succeed, and we call that the American dream. Equality under the law, that we all should have the same rights. Limited government, that the government's meant to protect those rights rather than tell us every little thing about how we should be living our lives. And civic duty, that our free society depends on people stepping up in this country. And that's what this campaign is about. It's a call to action. If we just spend all our time celebrating America and eating hot dogs and watching the fireworks, we're going to have missed a big opportunity to really have a very important conversation and move our country forward. And that's what our campaign's all about.
Tell us really quickly just where people can go to learn more.
Oh, yeah. You can go to takeonesmallstep.com.
Okay, takeonesmallstep.com. I mean, one of the things that I get frustrated about is that kids are not learning enough about civics. They're not learning enough about our American history. And if they are learning something, it's not filled with any sense of pride, right? It's like total shame. Like, oh my gosh, we did this. It's Columbus Day, right? It's Columbus Day. And yet people will say, no, it's Indigenous Peoples Day because Columbus was horrible. And I'm like, okay, guys, can we not look at everything through like the prism of actual history and like try and put yourself, like have some empathy, right? For time and place, etc. And let's be really clear, if it weren't for certain people, no matter how bad you think they are through a historical lens, we wouldn't be here. You touched on something else, Daniel, which people like don't, I think, appreciate enough, but the American dream, which is so intrinsic to who we are, in that anybody can come here from anywhere and make a success of themselves if they're willing to work hard, right? Sweat equity is really really important. A little intellect and a little good luck also helps. But the point is, you get the mechanism by which to be able to achieve success here. And you have sort of the aspiration that wouldn't exist anywhere else. I was talking with one of my cousins who's married to a woman in France. And so they've lived in France for many years. And she's an English teacher, interestingly. And you know what she loves to teach? The American dream. And so I'm asking her about this. And she's like, I'm like, well, I mean, is there a French dream? She's like, no. She says with a very French accent, no, there is no French dream. The American dream is completely unique. And so it's fascinating, and like it lights up the kids' imagination, right? The American dream. And like, this is something that we grew up with that not everyone has had exposure to. You don't grow up thinking you're going to really do anything different. If your parents were teachers, you become a teacher in France. If your parents were, engineers, you become an engineer. It's a very sort of already laid out path for you. And that's how the rest of the world is, unlike in the good old US of A, right? Where we can do better and we expect every generation to do better.
That's right. And I mean, you don't have to look very hard into our history to see example after example of that playing out. Just start from our founding fathers. These were everyday citizens who decided to take some steps and then created the greatest nation on earth. Whether it was George Washington, he took his first oath of public service at the age of 17. He was a surveyor, a very local, small job. And then he grew into the general and then the first president of the United States, Sam Adams. He started a grassroots organization, the Sons of Liberty, that advocated for independence. He was an everyday person as well. Thomas Paine was actually someone who was taken out of school, but then ended up writing Common Sense that mobilized all of the country to fight for independence. And let's take it further. We were the country that brought man to the skies. You know who did that? The Wright brothers. They were bike shop owners. They had a crazy idea. They took a risk, and they on the beaches of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, flew man to the sky. And then our country and the system that we have, the freedoms and the opportunities that we create in this country because of those principles led to, in just 66 years later, Neil Armstrong stepping foot on the moon, taking one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. That's an only in America story.
Okay, I'm getting chills. I'm glad I have a turtleneck on. It's kind of chilly in the studio anyway. I really do. I get chills when I hear these stories. But I need more of it. And our kids need more of it.
Yes, they do.
And I know this is what you guys are trying to do. Maybe it's just, getting together with your neighbors and, over dinner. We don't do enough community stuff either. We need more and more community. Everything's online. But what if, you have somebody over for dinner and you just talk about this? Remember how fortunate and lucky we are to be in this country.
That's what this campaign is about. I'll tell you one really sad statistic that's come out recently. Okay. A Gallup poll had the percentage of U.S. adults proud to be an American at only 58%. It's the lowest ever recorded, Trish. And that's a problem. That's sad. Regardless of who's in office and what the political climate is, we need to remember that we are Americans and we have shared values and that we are very fortunate to be here. And the number, by the way, is way lower, in the 40s, for young Americans.
Whoa.
And so this
well, you know what that is. For goodness sakes. And you look at Trump getting rid of the Department of Education, and I have a feeling that some of this stuff is related. I want to show you, there's a woman who's the president of the National Education Association, and she was speaking out recently. And let me just show you this soundbite, because I actually think that this sort of, this DEI movement was pretty... look, I'm all for diversity. I think it's really important to have different viewpoints. By the way, part of that means accepting conservative viewpoints, thank you very much, around the table. But, you don't pick someone just because of color or because you think that they're owed something, et cetera. And this is the woman who is running the Department of Education, or rather, forgive me, the National Education Association. And I do put some blame on them and sort of the federalization, if you would, of education. Here she is.
We cannot fear the future. Diversity, equity and inclusion. Say the words. Say the words. Say them. You are powerful. You are the NEA. Hold your head high. Hold your head high. NEA. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Hold your head high.
Okay. So, I don't disagree. Hold your head high, and there is some merit in diversity of opinion, and welcoming people from all spheres of life, etc. But unfortunately, I think that kind of took hold, and you can combine that with Mayor Brandon Johnson out in Chicago, who wants to ignore the Constitution because, DHS shouldn't be in his town. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now. He's also sort of looking to have some kind of form of reparations there in Chicago. I'm just saying, there's been this desire to somehow turn the founding fathers and everything that America stood for into something bad. And I think it's really important that we remember how good it is, and we re-educate kids. I mean, she's in tough shape, right? Because she's going to lose a lot of money. But, we need to actually kind of have some sort of principle of, do they even say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore in school?
I'm not sure. My son's only 2 years old, so thankfully I don't know.
My kids go to a private school and they don't.
But what I will say is that our founding fathers, they wrote and enshrined in our founding documents equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. And that's what makes us great. That's what has created the American dream. And when we're talking about freedom, she kept citing freedom. I think we have a different definition of what freedom means. Freedom means being able to pursue the American dream and however you see fit, without government intervention, over regulation, without the need to ask for permission at every step and turn you take. And we see that at Americans for Prosperity. We try to help people take steps in their own lives towards their unique version of the American dream so that they reach those heights, but then also open up opportunities for others. And so that's kind of what we're trying to galvanize people towards, to celebrate what makes us being Americans special. We want to educate, inspire, and mobilize Americans. And that means you actually have to step up. You can't just complain. You can't just put a post online.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And you guys have a lot of good ideas there on the site. So I encourage people to go there. But, what I love about what you're doing is you're creating this grassroots effort. You're getting people involved. And look, this doesn't mean, you got to write a check. It can mean, you go knock on doors, you go talk to your neighbor, you have some people over for dinner, and why not have a 250th birthday party? Right, for America. Do that next Saturday night, and just spend some time honoring who and getting the word out in that way. It could mean running for local office, for school board, for city council, for mayor, for or maybe running for a big political office. I don't know, but whatever you can do, I think as an individual to help remember the foundation of this nation and what makes us who we are is really important, especially this year.
Yes. And I think a lot of people ask themselves, what difference can I make? And we have so many examples through our history of everyday Americans who just took that first small step. And before you know it, only in this country can that one small step, amplified with thousands of others taking their small steps, can make a true impact.
Okay, where to go again?
Go to takeonesmallstep.com and learn how you can get involved.
I love it. Daniel, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So happy 250th. We get to do this all year.
Almost. We'll definitely come back.
I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the... Okay, so some of you guys know I sang. I was joking with Daniel. I'm like,
I'm going to have to play this. And then I was laughing too because you guys were like, wait a second, is the Star Spangled Banner coming out? We can bring that one out too, maybe next time we talk about this. But this is one of my favorite patriotic songs. And many of you may not know that this has a second verse. Oh, beautiful for patriot dreams that sees beyond thy years. Okay, so I have a background in singing. I sing really loud in church too. The kids are like, Mom, please stop. You know, I can't help it.
From sea to shining sea, from sea to shining sea.
All right. Well, wow. I'm thrilled that Daniel came on and we did that little tribute. And we got to talk all year long about how great America is. And you know what? It's getting better and better and better and better by the day. I'll tell you, this communist that's trying to get into New York, he's not, I hope to God he doesn't see the light of day. I really, really hope so. We get some breaking news I want to actually bring to you at this moment in time. The crypto industry, which we talk about quite a bit here on the show, crypto industry just reached a major milestone, passage of a first major bill. There had been a little bit of squabbling there in Washington. You know, some of the Dems really don't like this. They're really threatened by this. The cryptocurrency industry securing a big legislative objective, and it made a progress. There's some progress towards the second one. So this is a very big deal, you guys. This news just crossing right now, just breaking, again, coming to us moments ago there. And the crypto stuff, it's becoming a reality. It really, really is. And I've encouraged you all to be looking at crypto because this is just an opportunity, I think, for a lot of investors. I firmly believe that anyway. That's my personal conviction. And now as you see, for example, the House willing to adapt. It was a bipartisan vote in the House to approve the bill. It's known as the Genius Act. They sent it to the White House now for President Trump's signature, something that's going to likely happen as early as tomorrow. He has promised to make this the first major piece of crypto legislation being signed into law in the U.S. And you have this industry that, 12 years ago was just sort of nowhere. And it's just become much bigger and more powerful. And in my estimation, it's really important. It's really important for the future of America and for us to kind of own this space, if you would. Which brings me to, I wasn't actually going to talk about them today, but Gemini is actually one of our new sponsors here on the show, and we're thrilled to have them. Gemini is a company where you can, buy and sell crypto. But what I wanted to mention was they've got this really neat card that's out right now. And the reason I mention it is because I was actually recently trying to book a trip, and I was trying to use some miles on things, and like my miles are not worth what they used to be, right? And that happens because the miles effectively are affected even more by inflation than you'd think, because they just sort of lose value. They lose value. And before you know it, you turn around and suddenly it's like double the cost on the airlines or in the hotels to use your miles. And so you need that many more miles. Well, if you've been hoarding your miles like I do, then the miles are not worth as much. And this particular card just really caught my interest, and it's super interesting because one, I like crypto, and two, it's a way for hopefully your rewards to actually hold value and possibly even grow in value, right? Because if crypto grows and your rewards are being rewarded in crypto and they stay in crypto, and that crypto increases, then what do you know, right? You're going to be in better shape. It's called the Gemini card. You can go to gemini.com/Trish. You can get up to $200 in free crypto, Bitcoin, if you like. I like Bitcoin. After 90, I believe it's 90 days, you have to spend like $3,000. I encourage you to look at the fine print so that you know all of that. But it's really kind of incredible. It's kind of revolutionary. I mean, what do you know? I could, get up to 4% back on gas, transit. I could get on rideshare, on 3% back on dining, 2% back on groceries, 1% back on everything else, and I can get it in the crypto I want. I mean, okay, because if that crypto goes up, that's a very different scenario, if you would, than what I've been dealing with my normal credit card miles. Anyway, go check it out if you can. Gemini.com/Trish. A lot going on, obviously, within the crypto industry. Speaking of that, I also encourage you to get my own financial research newsletter at 76research.com. We just put out a really good piece yesterday. We put out tons of content there. There's model portfolios if you want to get all of our stock picks, 10 to 15 stock picks in each one of them. Do check all of that out, you guys. But most of all, I just want to thank you all for being here, because this show, we are growing and growing and growing and growing, and it really is all thanks to you guys and your commitment to me and your commitment to truth. And so we're coming up on 1 million pretty soon. 900,000 right around the corner. We're hoping we can make it today. I'm telling you, you got to do your part. Make a comment. If you're seeing this after the live, tell me what you think. Weigh in. Let us know your discussion. We have a whole community here of terrific people, and so we welcome all of your input. I thank you for being here again and seeing so many regulars too. Peace of my mind. I know you don't like communism either. Oh, you're so sweet. Who's the pretty lady singing "Peace of My Mind" ass? Yep, that's me. I'm gonna have to get some new songs though, right? I mean, I like the patriotic ones, but we're gonna have to amp it up. The Christmas album. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. We're gonna talk again live tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. You'll know exactly when I'm live. See you soon.